All right, looks like we're ready to begin. Team, if you can just give me a heads up or a thumbs up, and looks like we're about to get started. Am I audible? Portia, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Let's get this party started. What is today's date? Let me check my calendar. 28th of July. Can you believe it? Friday the 28th. Where has the year gone? It is exactly 2 minutes after 1, so we are right on time. And again, welcome. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. I know a couple of people are still making their way into the webinar room, but what a beautiful day it is. I don't know where you are in the country, but in Johannesburg, it looks like God is favoring us. Winter is almost over, it feels like today, but it is going to be another great session. My name is Darren August, for those of you who don't remember. And obviously, I am your host on today's webinar number 3, my personal goals and budget, and we're talking about mental health as well. As always, I'm not alone. It's my pleasure to be with my learned and esteemed colleague who always looks beautiful. Portia, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome.
Good morning. Oh, it's not morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we had a morning session, so I said good morning to this one. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to our favorite session, L+EARN webinar.
Fridays are our favorite days. Portia and I look so forward to Friday so that we can have these sessions. I don't know how you all feel, but we are excited every time we get to present this, yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be another great session. Sorry, go for it, Portia.
I was saying, how many people are there?
So far, it looks like we have 15, and I can see people are coming in as we go.
Come on, guys. Okay, I see we've got Amanda Kunana. From Gauteng, and we've got someone from Thohoyandou. I think that's Murubi. I hope I'm saying it right, no Murubi. And Nozibisiso Queen Shezi from Pietermaritzburg, and Onke from Sancho. Onke, all right. Clemens Pate, I'm connected from Petro. Hi, guys. And I know there's someone, Hilile, from Howick.
Beautiful. As always, guys, we're so excited. I think big ups and big round of applause to those who actually come on time and who make it early and join the webinar from the start. I know a couple of people will still be dropping in as we go, but we're going to get started right away. Just a reminder before we start, please do keep your microphones on mute for the duration of the webinar, unless we obviously ask you to make a comment or once you've raised your hand and we ask you to unmute yourself. But for the most part, please keep your microphone on mute. It just helps us create a good experience for everybody who is on the webinar today. All right, and so welcome to webinar 3. We're going to be talking about goal setting, mental health, and also budgeting. But before we go there, I know, Portia, you'd like to just touch on the roadmap and talk to where we are.
Yeah. Right. So before we kick off with the webinar, let's take a look at our webinar calendar. Remember that our last session that happened on, when did it happen? On the 14th of July, we looked at the entrepreneur in me. So today we're looking at my personal goals and budget, and also looking at mental health and finance. And this was webinar 3. And then next webinar is going to be on the 18th of August. And there we'll be looking at the business model canvas and my business goals. And then we've got webinar 5, that we're going to look at my biz marketing. That's going to happen on the 8th of September. And then we've got webinar 6, that's my financial part 1. There we'll be looking at costing and pricing, my favorite, Darren, because I always say it's a very exciting one for people. And I know we're going to be getting questions for this one. And that's going to happen on the 29th of September. And then we've got webinar 7, my business financial also. Part 2, that's record keeping and reporting, those income statements, balance sheets. We're going to be talking about that. That's going to happen on the 20th of October. Then we've got webinar 8, my business compliance. That's going to happen on the 10th of November. And lastly, our webinar 9, where we don't deal with content, but we'll be pitching. But remember, guys, you don't qualify for pitching if you don't attend your webinar. So people who attend the webinars religiously will be the ones who are going to be able to pitch on that day. And then we're all going to graduate and close out. yeah, that's how the calendar looks like, Darren.
Cool stuff. So today we're going to be talking about personal goal setting. We're going to be talking about smart goals. We're also going to be talking about budgeting. And then we're going to talk a little bit about mental health, because we know that's something that is so important to entrepreneurs. And so let's start off by talking a little bit about what is personal goal setting. And so personal goal setting, really the definition is up on the screen, but it's a process of identifying and establishing specific objectives that an individual wants to achieve in their personal or professional life. Okay, very important. It is specific objectives that you're wanting to achieve. And then it involves determining things like what you want to accomplish, breaking it down into actionable steps, and then setting a timeline for completion. And we're going to get really deep into that as we continue the webinar. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about why it is important and why personal goal setting is so important.
Yeah, so before I really go into the reasons why it's so important, I just think you can't live your life without planning. So it doesn't matter if it's a business or it's a personal life. So you have to plan, what am I going to do this month? What am I going to do today? What am I going to do this week? What am I going to do in the next 5 years? Where do I see myself? So you need to plan to get to that goal. So before I go into this, I would like to say that most of us like to set goals in the new year. Those New Year resolutions, please, it doesn't have to be in the New Year. You do not have to wait for a New Year to set your goals for yourself. So you can start today. Everyone can just start anytime. Today is the time. So if there's something that matters to you and you want to make a change now, please start today. And I'm talking to you too, Darren.
Better start today, yes.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the reasons. You'll see there on the slide, there's clarity of direction. So what that means is that you must use certain personal goals that provides a clear sense of direction and purpose. So this helps you define what you want to achieve and where you want to go in life. And as I said before, without goals, you may feel lost or aimless and lacking a sense of purpose and motivation. So you need to have a clarity of direction. Where am I going? And then we've got motivation and focus. That's the second reason. And then that would be a goal act as a powerful motivator. When you have a clear target in mind, you are more likely to stay focused and take consistent actions towards achieving that. I think Sharon mentioned those little steps, those little actions. That's what this is talking about. So if you have a goal, then that's a motivator for you to focus. All right. And then we've got measurement of progress. So by setting specific goals, you create a measurable criteria for success. All right. So because you are measuring something. Okay. And then this allows you to track your progress and determine whether you are moving closer, to your desired outcome or not. So you need to monitor that progress. If I'm on a diet, we'll still go deeper in that. I would have to go on that scale to check if this thing is happening. Am I losing the weight? Every 5 days, let me weigh again to see if it's happening. There's a change. So you are measuring. Okay, then we've got a personal growth and development here. Setting goals pushes you outside of your comfort zone and it encourages personal growth. So it challenges you to acquire new skills, expand your knowledge, and to develop your strengths. You wouldn't set goals if you don't want to change anything. Okay, so I set goals because I want to change something. I want to do something better. I want to feel better. I want to do better. So that's why I'm setting goals, all right, so that I can achieve something. And then we've got enhanced decision making. So goals really provide a framework for decision making. So if you don't have goals, what decision is relevant? You can just thumbsuck anything and say whatever. So when faced with choices, you can evaluate them based on the alignment of your goals. And this helps you make more informed decisions and avoid distractions or opportunities that might hinder your progress. So I was saying to Darren earlier on, it's like if you're not planning anything for this week, you don't have a goal that you set, and then somebody just comes today as I'm sitting here. Let's go to the restaurant. Let's go eat out. I don't know if I've got the money to eat out, number one. I don't know if I have something that I need to do or finish because I don't have a plan. So I just jump. So that's why sometimes we fall into time wasters. We waste so much time doing things that we didn't plan. and then we leave out the important stuff. So goal setting is really, really important, and those are the reasons.
I love that. I think we would have all heard the fact that it's great to have goals, but they can't just be blasé goals. They can't just be pie in the sky goals. And so when we talk about goals, we need to talk about smart goals. All right, and I'm sure you would remember this even from high school, because this is the concept that's been coming along. It really is a basic concept, but it's so important for us as business owners. And so when you think about smart, you have to remember that your goals need to be specific. And so here, this really talks about the fact that the goal should be precise. Okay, it has to be precise. You need to know exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve, with no room for misinterpretation. Okay, don't allow it to, you just put it out there and it seems like, oh, it could be that. Does it mean that? That needs to be specific, precise, so that there's no room for misinterpretation. Then the second point is measurable. So the goal has to be quantifiable. How do you measure this goal? How do you measure if you are achieving this goal, all right? And so progress should be easy to track. You have to be able to track it. So if you say to me, this is my goal, I'm going to say, okay, great. How are we going to measure whether or not you are reaching this goal? Then the third one is achievable. And so the goal has to be achievable. It has to be physically possible for you to achieve this goal, all right? It can't be outlandish or unrealistic. You can't set a goal to do something that is in a country that you might never be able to even get to, okay? Or your goal is to become the president of a country where you weren't born and all the laws prevent you from doing that and you don't have a passport, okay? So it has to be absolutely achievable. And then the next one is your goal has to be relevant. And so this goal should contribute to your broader overarching goals, all right? And then the last one is time bound. So your goal must have a definite and a defined start date and a defined and definite end date. So I want to achieve this by when, and when am I starting, and how long is that journey going to be to achieving that goal? And so very important that when we talk about goals, they have to be SMART goals. So that is the acronym for SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And so let's talk a little bit about the goal setting process, because it's one thing to have goals, but we actually need to understand that there is a process to setting those SMART goals. Portia, you're going to break it down for us.
All right. So the goal setting process, this is what you do to get those goals happening. You want them to happen. So there's a process that you say. So first, you need to see that personal goal. What is it? What is the goal? And I can't copy Darren. Darren has a goal now. I'm going to also do the same. You know, it might not happen because it's not my goal. So everybody has got their own goal, depending on where they are in life, or what they think they lack, or you know what they want to change. Yeah, so you set a goal according to that. So I choose a personal goal, and then I define that goal. What is that goal? I want to lose weight. I want to buy a car. But also when defining it, you need to be specific, like Darren said. I want to buy a car in 2024. So that's my goal. So you need to define that goal. And then evaluate measurability. You know, so I'm gonna make sure that I save 200 rand every month to buy my Mercedes.
Hey, it's going to take you very long.
That would be nice. And then I'll assess achievability. Can I achieve this by this 200 rand? Or I need to up this thing to 20,000 rand. You know, is it achievable? You know, with the 200 rand or so that goal needs to be achievable. So these are the steps that you say. First, define the goal. Then you evaluate the goal. You assess the achievability, and then is it what I want? And can I do it? You know, so you must be sure it's relevant to you. Don't do something that you don't care about. It's not going to happen, or you might just be happy even unhappy even after achieving it. So make sure it's something that you really want and it's relevant to you. You're not doing it because everybody else is doing it. And I know there's so much pressure out there. So people start. I've heard people say, when I leave school, I'm going to take a gap year, just because everybody's doing it, you know. And then you are stuck that year. You have nothing to do. You're bored, and you're looking at your parents. But everybody had a plan. They were saying they're taking a gap year because they were traveling overseas because they could afford it. And now you're sitting at home and not do anything, you know. So it wasn't your goal. It took someone's goal. So I think a goal is a very personal thing. That you have to have it in your soul that this is what you want to do.
I really like that. Now, Portia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to ask you to break it down and give us like an example, maybe something that you've implemented in your personal life, maybe a goal that you're working towards. How do you apply this process? I want us to get a little bit of a feel into your head, and how do you think through this process when you set specific goals? Maybe you can share an example if you have one.
Yeah, so I have one that is my recent one. I think the one was reading a book. But as I always say, that the goal needs to be specific. So I was saying that my goal was reading a book once a month. There must be a book. Or 1 month I'll read one book. Right? Let me say it like that. And for this goal to be measurable, I need to be clear. I cannot be vague. And it's hard to know if you are on the right track when your goals are not measurable. So the 1 month talks to the time. So this is the really motivating factor for me, knowing that the clock is ticking. If I haven't read a book and it's the 15th of that month, I'm like, I said I was going to read a book, So having a time limit is really, really a powerful thing, Darren. It's like a deadline. I need to have read this book. So it pushes me. Even if I can read the book in 5 days, I can read the book in 20 days. But if I see there's 5 days left, I will read that book because that was my goal, for that month. And then looking at my monthly schedule and responsibilities, I realized that as much as I like reading, I cannot read 2 or 3 books or 4 books. I have a lot on my plate. So I really want to do this, but I need to be realistic at the same time. And I can't read 4 books and I can't read 2 books. I can just read 1 book a month and that's it. And it's, for me, I think it's easy to achieve. So I'm not going to feel overwhelmed or anxious about it. It's just 1 book. And no one made a bet with me to read the book. I really want to do this with my heart and soul. So I want to expand my knowledge and understanding. I want to improve my writing, increase and improve my vocabulary, and just a break. I just take a break from my business. This is for me. This is my goal. It's for me, and it makes me feel good. And then the most important, I have written my goals down. It's not in my head. It's somewhere in my journal. It's there. I know when I made this decision was like 7 months ago, and I'm still doing it. I'm reading that book every month. Yeah. So it's a real powerful thing, and I'm excited.
Well done. Sure. I think that's beautiful, and I like how you, because it's so easy at the beginning of the year to say, this year I'm going to read 12 books. But by breaking it down and having a plan in place, I think what's really nice is you've shown us how you implement all of this, how especially even relevance, how you've said the reason you do it is because it gives you a break from your business. It helps you improve your writing skills. I absolutely love that. So I think, guys, a reminder to everybody, if you've got that goal, get a piece of paper and write it down, because a piece of paper doesn't forget, right?
Yeah.
And so start there. I want us to take the discussion a little bit further, and I'm going to open up the floor here. And so on the screen right now, we've got 4 pictures and 4 different goals. All right. So the one is I'm going to get fit. The one is I'm going to be an entrepreneur. The other one is I'm going to help my team land more sales. And the other one is I'm going to go to Cape Town. I would like a couple of us in the room. So maybe let's have 4 people. You can choose any one of the goals. And I would like you to break up for us. How do we turn these vague goals into smart goals? Okay, because right now it's just pie in the sky, it's just vague, but we want this to become a smart goal. And so please raise your hand. Anybody in the room, just raise your hand, choose any of the goals and break down for us, how do we turn this goal into a smart goal? How do we make it specific, measurable, actionable, or achievable, relevant and time bound? So let's open up the floor and let's see if there are any hands. Please feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to choose names and we're going to call names based on who we see in the room. So come on, guys, let's interact, let's engage. Let's have a couple of you just raise your hand and then choose any of the goal and tell us how we make it a smart goal. Kile Modise, you can go ahead. Please unmute yourself and share with us.
Hello, everybody. I'm choosing, I'm going to Cape Town baby. So I would start by selecting the date on when I want to go to Cape Town. Then work on my monthly budget on how much I'm gonna save towards the trip for Cape Town. Is it achievable? Yes, it would be achievable thinking that I'll be budgeting based on my income, so I'll be saving for it so that I don't have to pay for it as a lump sum at the end of the term. And then let me see the time frame. I think yes, I've covered.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kile, for sharing. So I think a very important thing Kile left out there is obviously how are we measuring it? And so at some point you're going to have to look, have I booked my ticket? Okay, you need to ask yourself questions like, when I get to Cape Town, where am I going to stay?
Yes, the logistics.
Things like that. So make sure that you really dive deep into all the aspects of this trip so that it becomes a SMART goal. But you did very well there with the feedback. Let's go to Morobi LP. You can unmute yourself and share your feedback.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Okay, I'll break down the I'm going to get fit, the fitness one. Okay, first thing is to identify the sport or activity that I would be able to engage in achieving the fitness goal. And then I'll also check what required equipment do I require to actually get into this goal or achieving this goal. Do I need to get a ball if I decide to play netball? Do I get a skipping rope if I decide to do skipping? And can I really afford? What is the budget required for me to get this equipment if I do not have equipment? If you do require equipment to get fit. And the last one, I'd say the time. Would I have time to actually engage in this activity? Do I have time? Would I have time? And would I be able to make time to actually engage in this so that I'm able to obtain or achieve my fitness goal?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's have the next person. Anyone else want to raise their hand and give us your feedback? Portia, I don't know if you can see if there's any other hands raised there.
I don't see a hand.
We still need two people. One to talk about the entrepreneur goal and somebody else to talk about the sales goal.
I'm going to
colleagues.
Oh, okay.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi.
I would like to speak about the entrepreneur goal. I think firstly, I would need to identify what kind of business do I want to start. And secondly, I would look at, is it like a viable business? Is it a need that the people need in the community? And what kind of skills and support do I need to start that business? And then lastly, I would look at the amount of time I'm going to need to prepare to start that business. Yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to share on the help my team land more sales? How can we break that down into a SMART goal?
My name is Levon. In regards to the sales, basically you have to decide you have to define what you mean by more sales. And you have to also look at your target market, see if you are going to be meeting a particular need. From there, decide how long it's going to take you, like how long you're giving yourself to make those sales. And yeah, I would say that those are the main things.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thanks, guys. I think just one thing to reiterate, especially when it comes to time, as far as your SMART goal concerned, remember time refers to that start, definite, defined start date and end date. And so when we are measuring it, it's about by when am I going to achieve this goal? All right. And so that's very important. It doesn't always talk about, do I have the time? That's more about measuring it and making sure that it's actionable and achievable, because is it realistic to take on a goal that you don't have the time for? But the time is actually measuring the start and end date of your goal. Is there anything you wanted to add there, Portia?
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, for example, for the Cape Town one, there are so many things that need to happen. So it's not like you're gonna take one big chunk of money and buy the tickets, buy the clothes. But so you could have those timelines, but for different things. By this time, I would have bought the ticket. By this time, I would have bought that jacket that I need because it's cold in Cape Town. I need a new suitcase. I'll buy it by this time. So you could plan your trip, but with those timelines. So that's time bound. That's what you need there. There could some goals are different. They want different timelines, but with obviously there's an end timeline. You know, I'm going to Cape Town in December on the 30th, but then there's these other times that are also involved. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
I think just one more that I would like to just dive a little bit deeper on is the one with regards to sales, especially because a lot of times we all are business people. And so when it comes to, you've got a goal to increase your sales, it's so important that you also have a measurement and a tool of how you are measuring it. So if you are saying, I want to increase my sales by 20% in this quarter, or I want to increase my sales by so much rand for this year, you know, you need to be able to measure it so that you don't find yourself at the end of that period and you can't see the results and you can't measure it. And so, you know, if my goal is I want to make R1 million for the year, then I need to at least make 120,000 rand each month. Okay, and so you need to track it. Very, very important that you break it down that way. Let's move the discussion on to, sorry, Kile, your hand is raised. I don't know if that's an old hand or if you'd like to still add something to the comment. Yeah, I think so. Let's just take it down. All right, let's move the discussion on to budgeting. All right, and so budgeting is very important, and that's why today we're talking about budgeting. Again, one of the basics that so many of us need to hear over and over and over again. Otherwise, we find ourselves in our 50s and our 40s and we still haven't mastered these principles, and that's why it's such an important part. I love the definition when we think about what is budgeting. This really sums it up so nicely. It says a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And I know so many times we sit at the end of the month and you're like, where did the money go? Okay, that's because you didn't budget. And so this is a quote by Dave Ramsey, who we know is a very, very well-known financial literacy teacher all across the world. So remember, tell your money where to go so that you don't have to look to see where it went. But I think, Portia, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how do we even get here and why do we have to budget?
Yeah, so I think we budget because we just want to take control of the movement of our money, our cash. So for me, having a budget, I'm able to manage my self-control. You know, I guess it's a problem for a lot of us. You know, if you don't budget, you might just end up just spending. You know, so this is so important, and this is how we can do that. You know, so you'll see. I think everybody knows they've got something important, which is needs. Everybody has got needs, and those are very essential things. And I always say you need to distinguish between what is important and what's not important, and also what is a need and what is a want. So a need is very important. Those things that are essential, you know, and they're important, you can't live without. And I always say distinguishing our needs from our wants is the first step in the process of budgeting. So you need to know what is your needs and what are your wants. And then when we as individuals know what our needs are, we can prioritize our spending according to our needs. So you prioritize, you start with your needs first. Then after, you can look at your wants. Our needs and wants differ since our circumstances and priorities differ. And I think me and Darren are always on this one about makeup and nails. I always say, for me, that's a need. It was there at the bottom of my needs. You know, because I feel like when I feel good, I do better. You know, my confidence goes here. So I need that in my job. So I feel like it's also a need for me. I'm a princess. And then when we budget, we prioritize our needs and then we suit some wants where possible. All right. So advertising and peer pressure may make us feel like we need everything now. That's true. I mean, when you look at advertising, when things are advertised, even on TV, online, you're like, oh, I want that. You know, today I want that. But it's something that you've never planned. It's not a need. You don't need it. Yeah, you do want it, but it doesn't mean you have to buy it. And now the button is just right there now. You know, with online shopping and whatever, you can just say 1, 2, 3. You've got the thing and it's at your door. So we really need to control ourselves. So that's why I was saying that advertising and peer pressure may make us feel like we really need something now. However, We need to constantly check what our real essential needs are.
Very important. So, yeah, let's take the discussion a little bit further. So on the screen right now, we've got a couple of pictures. And I think, again, let's open it up and you tell us, what do you think about the pictures up on screen? Are they needs? Are they wants? I can see the makeup is there. Portia obviously put makeup there because she believes it's a need. Maybe, I think, again, and what you will see is needs and wants differ. So for instance, Portia says for her, it makes her feel good. It helps her performance, But for some people, makeup is an absolute need because they need to make up for what is missing. They need to make up for what is lacking. Okay, let me call myself to order. So let's see. Anybody want to raise their hand and just talk us through what's on the screen right now? Katlego, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, a house is a need. Fruits and vegetable is a need because we need to eat. Well, makeup, no, it's not a need, it's a want. Well, school fees is a need. Education is mostly important. An iPhone, it's not a need, but an Android, it's a need. An Android is a need. An iPhone is a want, and a Mercedes-Benz is also a want.
Tell us why you say those are wants.
Well, with the iPhone, most people use it for pictures. They don't use it for importance of having a cell phone. So you can have a normal cell phone. Then with a Mercedes-Benz, you can have a Golf. You don't have to drive a Mercedes-Benz. You can have a Golf 1 or a Toyota Tez. So yes, it's a want.
I think that's really good. It actually brings us to the next slide because as we've identified, yes, some of these things are needs. But then when you need to actually take the discussion further and ask yourself, so yes, a phone is a need, especially with the times we're living in, but how necessary is it to have the latest phone or the most expensive phone? Sometimes you might have somebody in your family who says, oh, I need a phone. And then how do you make that decision and what is your thought process in terms of deciding which phone they need to have? So maybe somebody can touch a little bit on that. If your mom or your dad came to you today, or your younger sibling or your child came and said, I need to have a phone, what is your thought process around deciding which phone you're going to get it? Is it okay? Can they just have the TikTok one there that they can get at PEP for 35 Rand? Can they use a 3310? Or do they have to have the iPhone or the Android? Anyone want to add more to what Katlego said?
Good afternoon, everyone.
So someone there. Oh, okay.
Go for it.
Yes. I was just adding on what Katlego is saying. I think the most important part about choosing a phone is the RAM and the memory the memory and the space of the phone, because these days we do everything on our phone. So sometimes you keep pictures of projects that you're busy with, or most of the things that you want to do. So if you're just starting out, it might be a bit difficult to get like your cloud storage set up. So space and a better phone is very important. I have two phones. The other one I'm struggling with because it's not fast enough and it does not have enough space to keep most of my things there. And the other one that I have, it's not fancy, but it gets the job done. But it's fast.
Beautiful, thank you. I was saying earlier on, our helper at home, she's got the phone that looks like the one on the left-hand side of the screen. The small one that can just say the please call me. Can just say the please call me. She can answer it and she can send a reply. And so the other day they actually robbed her, and she said, hey, at least they didn't take my phone because it's small enough, I could fit it in here. And when they said, Mama, give me a phone, I just said I don't have a phone. But she does have one as the one on the right as well, but she says she's keeping that for when she retires, because then she wants to be able to send WhatsApps to say, hey, I'm on WhatsApp. And so again, you can already start seeing that needs and wants differ for each person. Again, early on we spoke about the fitness goal. So again, we need to ask ourselves, is it the most important? What is the important part of this goal? So yes, I want to get fit, or yes, I want to lose weight, but how can I do that? Do I have to have a gym membership, or can I work out at home watching YouTube videos? Or do I need the latest clothes? Do I need to have labels on there? Or is it okay to get a tracksuit pants that I've just been wearing around the house and use that at gym? So these are all some of the questions that you need to ask yourself when it comes to determining what is a need and what is a want, and how and where they fit in on your priority list. Is there anyone who wants to add to the conversation around needs and wants, giving us their views on some of the pictures or some of the decisions that we just chatted about? Go, Rosina.
I would also like to add, in terms of needs and wants, I think it's very difficult, especially for us entrepreneurs. For an example, if I say I'm going to a meeting and I pull over with my Toyota Test, I think the impression on the people is going to be like I'm not successful. So I feel like there's this pressure on us to kind of fake it until we made it. So for me, I need an iPhone to appear like I'm successful so that my reputation would look, so.
I like that. We're going to actually be talking about that in a moment. So let's start that one. But I think, it's so true. It's so true how society measures success by some of the things that we have, and it absolutely should not be that way. So when it comes to budgeting, very, very important is that we realize the importance of budgeting firstly, but also always budget before you receive income. This is so important. So often people spend the money and then want to go back and see where did the money go. Oh yeah, let me do a spreadsheet. Let me quickly do a list. No, while you are anticipating and waiting for the money to come in, that's the time that you need to budget ahead of time so that you are able to allocate it correctly. Then budget regularly, all right? It's not a once-off exercise. You can't budget for the whole year in January and then say, I've got my budget. It's there somewhere in a file. You need to constantly be budgeting and regularly be budgeting. Then make sure you include all your sources of income. Maybe you are getting money from family. Maybe there's a bursary, or you've got a part-time income or a side hustle. Every bit of income that comes in needs to be included and allocated in your budget. And then budget for your needs first and then your wants. So important. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you aren't able to meet your basic needs because you are spending on all of the wants. All right? You think of those people that show up dressed to the nines. They've got shining or expensive outfit, but they had to get to the event like bumming a lift off somebody, or they couldn't afford transport to the event, but they want to show up looking like the best. So very important that you budget for your needs before your wants. Then fixed expenses are constant and variable expenses can be adjusted, and bear that in mind. Things like water and electricity, we know those aren't set. And then include things like bank charges as well. And that things like that change as well depending on what you are doing throughout the month. Then include savings in your budget. Very important that you save for emergencies and that you are saving towards your goal. And then if you do need to adjust, start by adjusting your variable expenses first to see where is it that I can tweak and cut them, take off, and then obviously start cutting down on your wants first, as opposed to make sure that you are meeting all of your needs.
Yeah, as much as we're budgeting, and then there are these things that just come, during the emergencies that can affect your budget. So I'll just read like a few things that could happen, and I think some of us these. Look at the first one. It says an unexpected guest arrives to stay for a while, and as a result, the food bill increases to 300 rand. Extra place there. So that could actually affect your budget. You have already exceeded your monthly limit for takeaway. A friend from out of town is visiting, and your group of friends have organized a catch-up at the nearby restaurant. Remember, you don't have the money anymore. You spent enough for that month. So when you have a budget, you can make a decision. Am I going? Or am I going to go there? Or I'm going to ask a friend to pay the bill on my behalf. So when you have a budget, at least you can make a decision on what's going to happen when you get to the restaurant. Because you want to be there, but you don't have the money. So there has been a petrol price increase, and as a result, your transport bill increases by 100 this month. And that happens a lot. I mean, we know those hikes on and off and frequently. So that does affect people's budget. So what are you going to do about that? So that's why you need to have that emergency fund. I know somebody in the last group that they, I think 500 rand that they keep aside every month for in case something happens. So a relative dies and you need to contribute 500 rand to the funeral cost. That happens. Do you have an emergency fund? Because we don't plan funerals. This just happens. All right. You are waiting for your monthly stipend, but there's a delay. You need about 1,000 rand for food and transport while you wait. So when you have an emergency fund, it's nice. You don't have to go borrow outside. You borrow from yourself. You borrow from your emergency fund. So that's what I do. I borrow myself from my emergency fund, then I pay it back if I receive the income that I'm waiting for. So I usually pay that back as a loan. So I borrow myself from the emergency as a loan. I actually write it loan, and when I pay it back, I'm repaying the, you know. So it's very important to have that. I know people say, but I've got so little money. Whatever little money you have, I was telling someone, but I am so little. I said, you start with that little money that you earn to manage it and budget. Because when you get big money and you don't have the habit of saving, then you are going to have issues in the future. So start with the little money that you have, because this is a habit thing. You need to get used to it. You know, there are people like Darren was saying, you're a 40-year-old, you still don't know how to budget. You know, it's about you doing it consistently with the little money that you have, so that when you get to that big money, you don't blow it. You don't want to be in I blow it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people end up in trouble, because you haven't budgeted correctly, and the next thing you find yourself at the mashonisa, and then you end up, and it's just a vicious cycle. So you rather budget correctly, and then you be like the person I saw on TikTok this week. He said, my budget for August is 20 rand. That's what I have left. So I'm changing my status on WhatsApp to unavailable. Don't contact me until September, because if you need me to have more than 20 rand for anything this month, I can't do it. I've only got 20 rand. All right. And so very, very important to realize. Let's talk a little bit about finances and mental health, because we know that so much of what we go through affects how we, just how we live on a daily basis. And so it's very, very important that we understand how important finances is and how it affects our mental health. And so when we think about mental health is the state of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Portia, do you want to continue on this one here for us?
Yeah. So very, very important spirit. And I wanted to say, anyway, it's July, it's Mental Health Month. So I think we chose this topic appropriately. So poor mental health affects how we handle and relate to others and make decisions. Yeah, it's a psychological thing. I know someone will explain it, but it's like, when people say, I'm sad. If you're sad, you must be sad, and then move from sad and get into another emotion. The minute you stay sad for a long time, I always say, for me, that would be a symptom of a problem. I need help and I need to reach out. So when you are mentally well, you are better equipped to handle life's challenges. When you're okay, it's easy to solve issues. But when you've got a mental problem, you'll sit down, you blame yourself, or you blame someone else, or you feel like there's no solution, So, but when you are okay and you are happy, it's easy to solve an issue, And I think as small businesses, we go through that, So we need to keep ourselves mentally healthy, and it means we are aware of our feelings and our triggers, both positive and negative. You need to know what makes you happy, and you need to know what makes you unhappy. And obviously it's not going to be hunky-dory all the time, Darren. Especially when we're running businesses, some months are good, some months are bad. I know bad months, in my business, but I know that there are also good months where I celebrate, So I always say, I always embrace those days where nothing is happening or I'm not making money. I still embrace those days because they make me so strong. Even if I'm not making the money, but when I look back all the time, things were not good, but it made me stronger because I think I fight even more. I work hard even more when I know I'm not reaching my goal, So embrace those two, yeah.
Lebone, your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and make your comment.
It was actually a comment that was suggested, or rather that was related to the budgeting. I don't know if I'm still able to comment on that.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest because a lot of us are entrepreneurs in here, and sometimes as an entrepreneur, you don't always get a consistent source of income. Like what I mean is that the amount is not always consistent; it fluctuates. So, in regards to budgeting, I found that it's just a suggestion, by the way. I found that sometimes it's a little bit more effective when you also use percentages when budgeting. So instead of saying that it's going to be a fixed amount that goes to food, you actually say it's a fixed percentage that's going to go to food because months are not the same. And then in that case also, I'd also just like to add that just because the money is there, like you budgeted for something, but then you didn't finish it by the end of the month, it doesn't mean that you have to finish it. You can just leave it for the next month. And some might say, yeah, but you got to reward yourself. If we're talking about budgeting, it means that everything that you do is planned. So you don't just reward yourself because there's money left over. You reward yourself because you planned to reward yourself. So just because there's money left over, you can still keep it for the next month and so forth. But yeah, I just wanted to make that suggestion because I found that it's quite effective for me, especially using percentages.
I love that. That was really good. Beautiful. Thank you for adding that. I think something that we can definitely implement and take away percentages as opposed to fixed amounts. Beautiful. Guys, let's talk a little bit about stress. And so when it comes to stress, we have to understand that money is such an important and such an integral part of our everyday lives, whether we are students, whether we are newly employed, whether we are business owners. Money, I know this is saying this is money answers all things. Everything revolves around money. And so as a result, money is linked so closely to our emotions, including joy, success, frustration, guilt, all of those different emotions. So many of them are influenced by money. I'm sure we all know people who smile from ear to ear on payday, and then the next day they're sad. It's all because their money determines how they feel and how they react. And so very, very important that we are aware of that when it comes to what stress is. Portia, are you still around? I think Portia might have had an issue. Okay, and so that's a part of the reason why financial education is so important when it comes to mental health as well as stress management. Okay, financial education helps us to understand the basics that can help us feel more in control. It also helps us plan and understand the process around money, and it helps us to understand that wealth creation is a journey and not just an overnight thing. It's a destination. It doesn't happen overnight, and so very important to do that. And then, of course, financial education also helps us to reflect on our goals and see where are we? Are we achieving our goals? How are we feeling about money? And so it's so important. And again, that's why programs like these are so important at every level. Even though we are in business, even though you are already an entrepreneur, it's so important to still be empowering yourself with financial education, because we know that if we have all of this knowledge, there's just so much that we can avoid, in terms of problems. They always say knowledge is power, and I absolutely agree with that. And so it's very important to remember that your net worth doesn't always equal your self-worth. So earlier on, Rosina, this is where I said we'll talk about this a little bit more. If we think that we are judged by the car that we pull up in, we think that we are going to get the deal if we can see there's an iPhone, but maybe you can leave your phone in the car and go into the meeting just with a file or just with a notebook. You don't even know if the person is looking through the window to see how you arrived. But I think so much is driven by society, so much is driven by things like media, and so as a result it creates this unfair expectation that we put on ourselves. And so we may think that these that possessions and material things that we can makes us happy and equates to success, but it's not the case. We are more than our bank account. We are more than our job title. So always remember that our uniqueness and our contribution to the world and those around us is the value that we bring. It's not the money in our bank account.
Yeah, I think that's important, Darren. I think for most entrepreneurs, I had a class last week in Wheatbank, and one of the entrepreneurs said she bought the car that she bought because she wants to show up like she's made it. She probably has made it. She's doing well, But I'm saying it's not supposed to be a thing that makes you go to buy. It must be an influence. It must be, because that's why when we're talking about goals earlier, I said you need to buy something because you want it. You shouldn't be influenced by somebody else. Yeah. So that's interesting. Is Darren there? I think we lost Darren.
That was so weird. Am I back?
Okay.
He's back on.
I wonder what's happening there. Okay, so we were touching on stress. Portia, do you want to take it further? I know you've got some info to share with us about July.
Yeah. So I was saying that this month is July. It's July and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're talking about stress. We're talking about psychological issues. It's not that you say you are sick in the head, but all of us have got problems and it affects you. You know how you think and how you feel. So if you have any issues of stress or any mental health issues and you suspect that you need help, you can get help from SADA, which deals with depression and anxiety. It's a group and it's free, so they can help you with coping strategies, information, and resources. Or sometimes they even refer you to doctors. So how to contact SADC? There is a toll-free number there, 0800 456 789. Remember, we are going to send you the slides, or maybe you've got a pen and paper that you can write. And I hope everybody has a pen and paper when they come to these sessions, Darren. Because we don't want to be talking to the walls. So there is also a chat line via WhatsApp. So that's 076 882 2775. So please, if you don't feel well, or you need to vent, or you want to talk to someone, please, these are the people that you can talk to.
Thank you. All right, so next up, we're going to invite our special guest who is on the call with us today. His name is Yanga Duma. And so Yanga is a seasoned corporate athlete. I love the title, corporate athlete, and a businessman with over 8 years in business. He's the founder and CEO of If Insurance, a financial services boutique firm offering business and customers funeral covers, investment planning, retirement planning, employee benefits, estate planning, risk management, and business insurance. Allow me to read a little bit more about his bio, because I think he's got a very impressive bio. So Yanga started his career at Standard Bank in 2010, where he was entrusted to serve as business manager at the age of 25, making him one of the youngest managers in the bank in the period of 2013-2014. Having managed a portfolio of business banking clients with an average annual turnover of 10 million Rand, Yanga learned extensive skills on banking, business management, people management, leadership, and of course, meeting the needs of customers. Then in 2014-2015, Yanga joined one of the leading insurance companies in the financial industry, in the financial advisory team, This is where he attained skills on wealth management, investments, risk management, business assurance, and estate planning. In 2015, Yanga lost both his father and his sister, and this made death a harsh reality for him, with emotional and financial implications. And after these tragic losses, he made it his personal mission to develop sustainable insurance cover that would assist those like him who have the responsibility to contribute towards the burial of their loved ones. Central to his search was to get the product to be cost-effective, yet cater for and to be suitable for the African makeup of families. If insurance is built on this philosophy. And so without further delay, Yanga, welcome. It's so great to have you on the call. I'm going to take the picture down and have you up on screen. So if you would please turn your video on and chat to all of us.
How do I do this? Wait. There we go. All right, there we go.
There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be back, Darren. I don't know where you got those notes. It sounds like you're reading my obituary already.
Definitely not an obituary. Just looking at you, I can see you just getting started. And so, again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Cool. I must say, it's great to be back onto the second segment. After we spoke earlier in the morning with the cohort of the morning, I thought of I left this out. I forgot to say this, but I think this is now for the benefit of everyone who's doing it for the second time around. I'm definitely not Anele. I'm not as beautiful as she. This is younger. So I'm glad to be with you guys for the next 10 minutes. And I think for me, I speak from the heart. It's not a textbook kind of stuff that I will share with you, but I will take on some of the things that I've lived myself, right? We're talking about mental health in July, and I must again thank Afisa for doing such a powerful program, particularly for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. You are on your own. No one understands you. You're just on your own. When data or connectivity is no longer there, you're on your own. When petrol runs out, you're on your own. When debit orders bounce and lease agreements and all the stresses, invoices don't get paid, you are on your own and no one understands you. You're going to be busy saying, an invoice of 80,000 not paid, and someone who's earning 40,000 on a date that they are sure of. They're like, what is he talking about? Is he talking about the lottery, this one? You know, no one understands you. So really to form this powerful group of business people who want to build something that has not been there, who have a burning desire to create employment and contribute to the economy, that is powerful. That is a positive contribution done by Asisa. It really impacts the business society that is often overlooked. One may always say that the vulnerable group are people that are perhaps experiencing GBV, that are raped, that are downtrodden. But if we have to be honest, business people form part of the vulnerable groups. There's too much that can get the bearings of a business person not to be in sync. With all the moving parts in our operations, there's so much that can say Nozibusiso is today didn't wake up, or Pilile just collapsed in the office. That is our lived reality. We like it or not. Someone can say today that we are expecting a payment, and when you're expecting a payment, there are many others that are expecting a payment from that payment of yours. And Amanda, in no time that doesn't happen, because someone doesn't understand what happens in the background. And suddenly you leave, it's a Friday, it's month end, and that payment is not done, and the invoice date was due on the 28th, and someone doesn't make that payment. There are salaries that won't be paid, there are tools for trade that won't be paid, and Barbara, you must answer to someone. Why is the payment not coming through? So these are some of the realities that entrepreneurs really traverse in this business life. And when you talk about mental health to us, there's just so much that can get us for the wood and the fire not connect. There's so much. One of my favorite authors writes this statement to say, we use our health to gain wealth. However, if we are not focused, we end up using our health to regain our wealth. That's Elfcom. The generator will kick in shortly. We live in South Africa. Could deal with my mental health. So 30 seconds should just kick in again. If I do cut, know that it's not me, it's Elfcom. I'm great. I'm glad. I'll say this one again. We use our health to gain our wealth, but most of us will end up spending the wealth to regain our health. This happens when we don't look after our health. You can agree with me that no business person is ever in a creative mode, in a positive environment to really create, solve problems when they have problems themselves. Pilile, if you are stressed today, you cannot think about an operational problem that you must solve and deliver a solution to a customer. Thereby, it becomes important that we are well so that we can be able to discharge the role that we're supposed to discharge. In business, there are usually principles that other people will quote so nicely in books. And they would say, paying yourself first. Business person, always, you must always use the principle of paying yourself first. At a particular stage of a business, that thing is not practical. You can never be able to pay yourself first when you are still starting. Because when you do, who pays the supplier? Who pays the data? Who pays the telephones, the offices? And. So the reality of an entrepreneur is that you are one who ends up to be paid last. But you must still be well. This is why it becomes important that one is able to plan, how can I live from the list? How can I postpone gratification? Because part of the things that get us not to pay others is because we want instant gratification. Immediately, because one has got a CIPC document and a business card and an office address of spaces and sent in, we think we've arrived. And we must live up to a certain expectation. We must arrive at a meeting driving in a C200. I keep making an example of a C200, maybe because I'm bitter. It's my favorite car. But when I look at the numbers of what a C200 would cost, I must decide between a debit order of Mercedes-Benz and an insurance of 2,000 rands and extra petrol for a C200 vis-a-vis this debit order that will happen of plus minus 15,000 may not leave me so well in my mental health and numbers. So there's this sudden pressure that we want to paint an image that most of the time is not reality. We are painting it to people that actually do not matter in the bigger scheme of things. If someone is to give you business and the determining factor is what you drive, I tell you now, that's not good business. If what I wear determines you giving me business, that's not the determining factor. I would rather have someone who is dressed simply and is really presentable, but who delivers, but not one whose bank account will prioritize a debit order of a C200 and not of staff members. So I say to us, let's perhaps, and the importance of this is that we are learning the tools to say, how do we manage our budgeting? How do we do our cash flow? When I was a rookie in business, I signed up for everything that seemed nice and good. I signed up and it's a debit order, like, it doesn't matter. But for me, the turning point was July 2019. A lot happened for me, or to me, in July 2019. In July 2019, I had to sell my house before it would be repossessed. I had to take a tough decision. Now, you read something so nice there, Warren. It was lovely, but one had amassed assets. But the journey of business, at times you end up liquidating that which you thought is something that is positive in your balance sheet. But 2019 for me, I had to sell, or else it's gonna be auctioned out. How does that not lead you to be unwell in your mental health? Now, I want to get to a point of saying, as much as we have all these things that we balance, we need to get to a point of accepting that there's a stress point that needs to be dealt with. There are many other things that we use as leaves and as a shield, as a curtain to the real problem that we are experiencing. As business people are problem solvers. Let's use the same principle in our wellness as well. To say, where's the problem? Let me go sort out the problem. For me, it was overcommitment in finances, and the fact that a lot of money was coming into the business account, yet when it comes to my personal really things, I was left with nothing. In business, money can come in so quick and go out equally quick, and you ask yourself, what happened to my money? And that is not usually a pleasant experience to live. So for me, I used as an opium wine. I used to eat. Of course, I was a casual drinker for some time, but now for me to numb the pain and stresses and manage life of running a business where every day you must pay for something. Every day you will wake up not knowing you must pay for it, but it comes, it's important, it needs to be paid, with so limited resources of money. Money, that thing you don't find easily, that thing of money, but so much depends on it. So for me, I had to go through that exercise. Every line item. Should I have this? Should I not have this? Is it important? What does it change the price of bread? And I did away with a lot. There are those small little costs, but in business, those things add up to a real amount of money. And those are the things we must be able to put a magnifying glass on. So what am I saying? Determine what is the stress point in your life, and have a strategy, a clear strategy to say, I'm going to go after this and I solve it. I had serious loss of sleep. By the time where there are productive hours, when people are waking up, I wanted to sleep. When everyone is saying it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, we must get dressed and get ready to go to work, this is when now I can sleep. So few hours, but you are expected to be as productive because you can't sleep on your money. So what am I saying to someone who perhaps is going through what I may have gone through? Identify that there is a problem. Seek help. In my sleeplessness, I wrote an email to my family doctor to say, what can we do? I haven't been able to sleep. Something that comes so naturally as sleep, but you are sleep deprived as a person because of the amount of pressures on your shoulders. But for me, I had to sort out the money one, but there was a health issue as well that needed to be addressed. And I can tell you now, this is not just my lived experience. People who have built businesses have daily go through it. So I don't think my experience is any special, but it's the solution that we must put on the table to say, what must you do? Have a team of people around you, the most trusted, because I know where you are at now, your cycle of people has closed down because most of the time you don't have the money to pay the bill. So you have so little people to associate with. Be honest with those people, with your financial realities. And I want to say, it's only temporal. It's only temporal. We lose a lot of people. We walk the journey of entrepreneurship with, and we know their names and faces. We sometimes make jokes about some of the rants that they would make on social media at times, only to find out that this person could not cope with a mental fight. It's not weak to be vulnerable. Feel the pain and you will be able to heal from it. So I really want to say to us, as we build these businesses, let's take the time to look after ourselves. Let's take the time to really take care of our mental health. Let's secure it. Every contract you sign, ask yourself, how is this going to affect my mental health? Because the minute you can't honor that contract, the minute you are over indebted in your finances, in your commitments, you are inviting yet again mental health. And one of the leading causes of mental health is finances. It is finances. So I urge us, I wouldn't want yet again to attend a memorial service of another business person, a funeral of another business person, a divorce of another business person. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's look after ourselves. We're not robots. It won't break the bank for you to take out 1,000 rands and go on a day spa and just breathe fresh air. I'm speaking with you as a fellow prisoner in this thankless job, thankless job of building a business. I know, I usually share with my friends that payday to business people, it's pain day. Others are ordering Uber Eats and buying their groceries. But for us, if we are being real with ourselves, sometimes it's a pain day. So I urge you, look after your finances. Take this opportunity that is being offered to us as business people seriously and go implement after. There are training manuals, there are presentation given. Let those not lie in your emails, but be the doer of what you've heard today onwards, and it will save you from an early death. I thank you.
Wow, so that was so inspiring. Thank you so much, Younger. I don't know if it's the voice that makes it like so much more impactful, but you can see it's like you make sure that we listen. Please let us know in the comments what you thought of what Younger had to say. I think there was just so much value in what he had to say. And if you do have any questions, if anybody has a question, maybe something you'd like to ask Younger, please feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat. We'll get to those questions shortly. But I think just from our side, Younger, that is so beautiful. I think it's always great to have someone authentic, someone who is in the fight with all of us, like you said. And I think we absolutely appreciate that. Today, what you heard is the realities, and I'm sure that's the reason why so many of you on the chat are being able to resonate and relate to what Younger is saying. So we're going to quickly do, we've got 2 quizzes that we need to complete. And so I'm going to put up the first one. I'm going to ask the team just to put the first one up. So if you could please launch the first poll, guys. The poll is going to show up on your screen. Will show up on your screen. And there are 4 questions. The first one relates to goal setting. There are 4 questions. So please make sure you've answered all 4 questions. And then scroll down to the bottom and submit. I'm going to give it about a minute for you to complete those first 4 questions. Kosha, if you do see any chats that you'd like to read out, feel free to do so.
There are chats. I think it's Clement Kwatle who says, harsh truth, Younger, admitting there is a problem is the first step to finding a solution. And then we've got Nozibusiso. Nozibusiso says, you're so powerful. I hope I did it right. And then me, I just said harsh truth. And then Lerato said, very powerful message, Mr. Younger. And then there's Lebone, I welcome to Younger.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Quite a few of you still completing the survey. Let's make sure that you are completing it. Remember, there are 4 questions. Answer all 4. Scroll to the bottom, and then it will allow you to submit. Sorry, Portia, you wanted to say something else?
Yeah, there's also Komoto who says, shoo, this is powerful. And then we've got Karabo who says insightful, thank you, Yanga. And then Katako Ari, Yanga, how do you keep your team motivated in difficult times? So maybe Yanga can answer that when we're done with the quiz.
Sure thing. Quite a number of people still need to complete the survey up on the screen. It should be up on your screen. Make sure that you answer all 4 questions. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and then you should be allowed to submit.
And my screen is just red with a quiz and there are no questions.
Well, it means it didn't come up. I think maybe it's your device.
Hello, I'm also experiencing the same problem. The only thing I'm seeing on my end is the quiz that read presentation page. I actually can't access it today.
Okay. I'm not sure why it would be doing that. Is anyone on the team that can chat to that? I'm going to keep it open for 30 seconds more.
Okay. I think we've got a second question again.
Okay, looks like most of us have completed the quiz. Team, we can take that down. Great stuff. Guys, we're going to put up the second quiz right away, just for the sake of time. So the second quiz, you can launch the second quiz now, team. The second one is related to budgeting. Again, 4 questions. It's up on the screen now. So you should be seeing 4 questions. Make sure that you answer all 4 questions and then scroll all the way down to the bottom before it will allow you to submit. Those who weren't seeing it earlier, let us know if you're experiencing the same thing with the second quiz.
Still blank.
Okay. It might be the device that you are on. That's fine.
It's okay on my side now. So
Okay.
I was able to. Thank you.
Thank you. Those who have completed the quiz, if you would in the meantime, please type in the chat and let us know what you thought of today's webinar. Let us know what you thought of the content. Let us know what you thought of what was covered and what was touched on. It's always great to hear your feedback. It's always great to just experience and know what participants are experiencing as far as the program is concerned. So please feel free to type in the chat as soon as you've completed the survey and let us know what you thought of today's session.
Okay, and I think we've got some questions there, Darren.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so this is from Kachako. He's asking, how do you, and this is to Yanga, how do you keep your team motivated in difficult times?
Yanga, are you still on the call?
I'm here, Warren. Darren, sorry. I think one, how to keep the team motivated in difficult times. I think one, we need to be honest to say there will be difficult times. And in difficult times, you don't expect the opposite. Do expect that as human beings, we will not feel like we are motivated.
Yeah.
So there's a difficulty and motivation. So you can't expect an inverse. So let's be able to say we've lost a client. This hurts. Let's allow ourselves to say we feel this is now going to be a difficult time. Let's feel it and be honest about it. But what is always important is cast your eyes, or even yours as a business owner and that of the team, towards the ultimate goal. Yes, it's messy right now, but what is our end in mind? And it's always, for me, it's always defining that the difficulties are not difficulties that only the staff goes through. Be present in the journey as well, because most of us, the difficulties and realities of our staff, we are so divorced from them. But when we endure the difficult times in business as a pack, it's that is something else. I can tell you now, we've got people who would remain in our businesses in during December periods. That's not nice.
Yeah.
And you can't be bowling when I'm in Cape Town and you're unbothered. What are the small little things that you can do for that person who's in the office during that time? Just to say, I'm here. It may be an irrelevant example to the question, but the point is, as the business owner, be present with the people in the difficulties whilst you are finding solutions along with them. So communicate as to what is it that you are doing so that we can get out of here.
Yeah.
But important, don't expect people to be motivated when a situation is not motivating.
Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you.
And then, there's another one that says, thank you, Younger, for that. My question is, how do you put on a presentable image as an entrepreneur without getting yourself in debt with buying expensive things to look successful?
Don't look successful when you're not.
Yeah.
Simplicity, guys. This thing of presenting a particular image really resides with the people who don't have the money. So we go overboard to present this image that we are not to people that really couldn't care less. If you, I've spent a lot of my time in Cape Town, and for my sins, I lived in the winelands. In the winelands, you can't tell who has money and who doesn't. But I can tell you, it's part of it. It's one of the richer square mile. People who have the money. But what are you going to see them? You're going to see them wearing their KWA jacket that you don't think is expensive. You're going to see them wearing these shoes that have got a different color of a sole, and you're going to see them driving a bakkie.
Yeah.
But to us, success is a 2 million rands car. Come on, it's an iPhone that doesn't always have data. So don't break the bank trying to present an image that is not there. People, when you're getting business, people will really. The people you really want to work with are the people who appreciate your brains and what you come with to the table. The solutions you bring. You are just wearing a KWA jacket and jeans, my brother. Let's fix that.
Younger, thank you so much. I wanted to say that, if people want to buy your service and you are good at it, they don't look at what you're wearing or what you have. I go to my clients with an Uber, and I even laughed the other day. My Uber gave me a message. You had 36 Uber rides this month.
Yeah. So
that I could get where I wanted to get. I don't think it's about it. When people love what you do and you are good at it, they don't look at what you've got. So I think I'm very comfortable with that. And then I wanted to say about the Cape Winelands thing. I lived in the Cape Winelands for 5 years. The most calmest place. I never had to worry about how I look. Yeah.
Oh. the son of the Whitey Person. He now runs Hungry Lion for the ShopRite group. He came to a session. We were meeting with him, and after he was waiting for his driver And you would be thinking it's going to be a G-Wagon. He was waiting for his Uber driver. It's a sedan Polo, and come to think of it, the fellow is coming. He's coming from Stellenbosch, and the meeting was in the waterfront. The amount, that's like, it's a good 60 kilometers in between. Think the fellow sitting, catching up on your emails at the back on your Uber. Come on, guys, we have productive time here. You don't have time to be burning a 4-pipe car when you actually don't have it. Let's be honest with ourselves. And someone said this to me. I'm glad. I know in my space I still have about 35 years that I can still produce active work. Why am I then rushing to appear successful now? I've got 35 years of planting that I can still do. So let's not rush, guys. It will come.
Beautiful. Younger, once more, thank you so much. That was really, really so insightful, so informative. And again, I love the fact that it's lived experience that you shared. We wish you all the best, and we hope to see your name in lights much more, because you've got a lot to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, for the lovely session.
Thank you so much, Younger.
Guys, we are almost at the end.
There's just a comment on the chat about the session from Lerato Mukwenene. She's saying today's session reminds us that life of an entrepreneur is not a smooth journey. We must allow ourselves to make mistakes and not to be hard on ourselves at the same time, because that will affect our mental health. Be smart, know what you want, and stay focused. Thank you so much, Lerato, for that. That's great.
All that's left to do is for us to turn our videos on. Let's get everybody's videos on. I'm going to take this screen down and let's take our group picture. I think it's been such an informative, such an insightful session. I certainly learned so much. I've certainly enjoyed today's session. It was absolutely tremendous. So let's get everybody's up on there. Let's get some pictures. Good to see everybody so excited and cool stuff. Thank you, guys. I think on that note, we're going to call it a day. It's been an absolutely great session. It's been our privilege as myself and Portia to host the session as always. And we will see you in 2 weeks. It's going to go so quick. It's going to feel like it's just a couple of days. But until then, please remember to take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. As we've learned today, you are no good to your family, you are no good to your business if you are not well. And so make an effort to care for yourself, make an effort to put yourself first. And we wish you great success in the weeks ahead. And we will see you in about 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye and have a good weekend.
Bye.